This meeting of the Middletown City Historic Commission and for March 21st, 2024 is called into session. It is now 6 p.m. Can you please give us a roll call?
Roger Daniel. Here. Michelle Perkins.
Here.
Rachel Rutherford. Matt Dixon.
Here.
Corey Carter.
Here.
Andy Brickler. You have quorum.
Okay. All right. Would all persons that are going to speak before the commission, please raise your right hand and say after me. I solemnly swear that any testimony I give to the Middletown Historic Commission today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
All right. The first item on the agenda is a review of the meeting minutes of January 18th, 2024. Has everybody received a copy of those minutes? Yes. Everybody had an opportunity to review them? Yes. Does anybody have any suggested changes or amendments or additions that need to be made to the minutes?
In reading them on the discussion about the Baltimore Street demolition,
Mm-hmm.
about halfway down it, there's a reference, or a couple references to U.S. Hotel,
Mm-hmm.
but there's no context around it, so it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Okay.
And I'm sure it came up because we were talking demolition, but it doesn't say anything other than mention the hotel.
Okay.
So our minutes are done mostly electronically, so we have recordings, and then anything that the system can pick up through the recording is then put into like a Word format document, and then I have to kind of clean it up and try to make it as coherent as possible. So sometimes when you will see like a gap like that, it's because there was a sentence or two either before or after it that was not picked up by the audio recording.
I wouldn't think anything about the U.S. Hotel would be germane to that particular part of the minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Probably better to just eliminate it.
Just scrap it.
At least that's my thought.
You know, as primarily as to what review criteria we're using. We had used one set of review criteria because the plan for the historic district on Main Street had identified the U.S. Hotel as an especially important building that is essentially identified as a historic landmark, and that there are specific criteria for the demolition of buildings that are so designated, and we're ensuring that we understood what they were, ensured whether we were using the appropriate criteria to review the application.
Yep.
It's a little hard to get there from the words that's on the minutes.
Okay. Do we have a motion subject to that amendment? All right.
So there's a motion to approve with the removal of,
References to the U.S. Hotel.
okay, perfect.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor say aye. Any opposed, same sign. Minutes of the January 18th, 2024 meeting of the Middletown Historic Commission are approved subject to the amendment. Next item on the agenda is a certificate of appropriateness for a pool and fence installation for 2614 Superior Avenue. Do we have a staff report?
Yes, you do. So tonight we have actually two different applications for 2614 Superior Avenue. The second application came in while I was on leave, but I will cover it within this shortly after this one. So tonight we have a request for an issuance of a certificate of appropriateness for the installation of a pool and a fence. The property is a two-story residential building within the Highlands Historic District. Below is a picture of the home. Here's the application. It's a 16 by 32 foot in-ground pool with an auto cover 4 foot tall black aluminum fence. Here we have our site plan showing our property is on a corner lot of Superior Avenue and Highland Street. Here's the home, here's the proposed pool, and then connecting both sides of the home around the property is a 4 foot tall black aluminum fence. Fence will be detailed similarly in the styles shown to the right hand side of the screen. Pool will be in-ground, concrete around, similar to this. And then here's the second application for the same property. I believe this was submitted on March 4th, since I've been gone. But this is for new windows in the sunroom on the back of the house to reduce old windows are drafty and do not close all the way. So this is what the home looks like now. This is the rear of the home. Please note that there are 5 separate windows here, and this is the side. Please note there's 4 windows. When looking at the home, it is in the sunroom. So this is the side wall, and this is the back. So this is right here, has the 5 windows. This has the 4. The new windows would be white vinyl windows. If you look on the to the right-hand side, they are replacing the 5 windows with the 4 in the backyard, and then on the side yard, they're going to remain with the 4 windows. Both side and back windows will be similar in style and material. So no permits may be first issued without obtaining a certificate of appropriateness. These applications for the pool and the fence would require other certificate of zoning compliance applications and various building permits for the pool. Any person directly affected by a decision of the zoning code administrator or the historic commission shall have the right to appeal to the planning commission, provided that a written application for appeal is filed within 20 calendar days after the decision, notice, or order was serviced. That would, in my staff report, the applicant is present. One thing I'd like to note is that you guys may vote on this in 2 separate applications, or if you'd like to do it in one, you can do that as well.
All right. Would the applicant like to address the commission with respect to the?
If you'd like to speak.
I don't really
Just-
have anything to add.
You don't have
Unless you
to.
have questions.
All right. Is there any member of the public that wishes to speak in favor of the application? There being no response, is there any member of the public that wishes to speak in opposition to the application? There being no response, is there any board discussion on the application or other applications?
I'm just curious, the original drawing you showed had a shed near the pool. Is that pre-existing, or is that something that needs to be?
It's pre-existing.
All right, I'm going to apologize, but if you're going to address the commission, then you need to come up and identify yourself and state your address and verify that you are under oath.
I am Jennifer Spillman, owner of 2614 Superior Avenue. To answer your question, the shed was pre-existing when we purchased the house in December, so,
And can you verify that you were placed under oath when you came in earlier?
yes, I do, yeah, okay.
All right, do we have any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Is there any further discussion? Okay, do we have a motion with regard to one or both of the applications?
I would move that we accept them, and it seems to be all put together. You've got essentially 2 projects on the pool and fence.
We have a motion to approve both certificates of appropriateness as submitted. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, can you call the vote for the record?
Corey Carter,
Yes.
Matt Dixon,
Yes.
Michelle Perkins,
Yes.
and Roger Daniel.
The applications for certificate of appropriateness are approved. Let's see. Next item on the agenda is a certificate of appropriateness as for a home addition to 1515 Jacoby Avenue. Applicant Eric Gresham. Do we have a staff report?
We do. So tonight we have a request for an issuance of a certificate of appropriateness for the addition to the single-family dwelling that you see above. The property is a two-story residential building within the Oakland Historic District. The property is not a historic contributing building, contributing to the historic district, I should say. In the description below on the application, the applicant kind of just describes completely what the home is going to be built. But the home addition will be 15 feet by 46 feet. So here's the site plan, preliminary site plan for the home. When we were looking at the photo of the home previously, we were looking on this side. So the home addition will be to the left-hand side. If we go back, home addition will be here. It's going to be 15 feet by 48 feet. Here's another image. I believe the home addition is only going to be one story. And that the home will be made out of the same material, which is vinyl siding. It'll be the same vinyl siding, same color, single story. That was all that was provided. If you looked at the property before, it's actually two different parcels. The applicant knows that they have to consolidate the two residential parcels before expanding the single-family home.
So is that staked out the way the addition's gonna be?
Yes. Yep. So no person owning, renting, or occupying a property that's historically designated can carry out any exterior alteration, restoration, reconstruction, demolition, new construction, or moving of a historic landmark or property without first obtaining a certificate of appropriateness from the Historic Commission or Development Code Administrator. This application would require a certificate of zoning compliance and various other building permits, including HVAC, water, electric. So, and then they will also have to consolidate the two residential parcels. That ends my staff report, and the applicant is not present.
Okay. The applicant not being present, is there any member of the public that wishes to speak in support of the application? There being no response, is there any member of the public that wishes to speak in opposition to the application? There being no response, is there any board discussion? There being no board discussion, do we have a motion with respect to the application? There being no motion, is there any discussion?
To accept it.
All right,
It would be an improvement,
all right.
and that particular house looks like it's facing three different streets.
All right, we have a motion to approve the application for certificate of appropriateness as submitted. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Will you please call the vote?
Roger Daniel.
Yes.
Okay, Michelle Perkins,
Yes.
Matt Dixon,
Yes.
and Corey Carter.
Yes.
The next matter on the agenda is a certificate of appropriateness for a home demolition for 619 Baltimore Street. Application made by the city of Middletown. Do we have a staff report?
Yes, we do. So tonight before us, we have a request for a certificate of appropriateness for the demolition of a single-family dwelling at the Oakland Historic District. The property is a two-story residential building within the Oakland Conservation District. Just a little bit of background. As you guys already know, it's demo. Home's been vacant since approximately 2021. Since then, the city has worked. I wouldn't say worked with. The city has been boarding up the home multiple times throughout the last 3 years. Filed several civil penalties for the property owner. Property owner is out of state, has not worked with the city to either board the property, mow, clean up the property. It's just kind of been a one-sided relationship where the city's been taking care of the property. I've included the last bit of communication that the city has with the property owner. July 24th, 2023, we sent out the request for demolition to the property owner. And then on January 12th, 2024, it was confirmed to Freaky Fast Home Buyers and Investments in Fort Worth, Texas, that the home was going to be demolished. Obviously pending the certificate of appropriateness from the city of Middletown. Here's the property currently. As you see on these windows here, they've been boarded up. This has been done by the city. I've been out here a few times now just looking over it. Yep. So once again, no person owning, renting, or occupying a property that's been historically designated or in a historic district can carry out demolition without receiving historic commission approval. The other approval that would be required would be a demolition permit. Then's my staff report. Do you have any questions for me? No, there's been no response to the last 3 years other than paying the property taxes. So whenever we file a civil penalty, it just goes to the property tax and they pay that, or Julie reaches out to them individually and they pay the fine then.
Okay. And this is the point where I get to my concerns again. The fact that we're meant to have power to identify these properties and order that repairs be made, order that they be found to be a nuisance, or order the property owner to abate the nuisance. We are seeing this for the first time, basically, when we're being asked to approve the demolition of the building in the historic district. We do have a little bit more this time, but again, we're supposed to be approving applications for certificate of appropriateness from the owner of the building or someone that shows that they have they're an authorized agent of the owner or a tenant, and not for demolition for a tenant. We're being brought applications by the city where the city has not taken title to the property, where we're not seeing the process by which they reached the point where the demolition order was issued. We don't have a copy of the demolition order itself. We don't have anything from a court ordering it. And we don't have any sort of citation as to what authority the city has to be submitting the application. And the city's ordinances don't give the city the right to submit for a certificate of appropriateness on the property in the city. I mean, I understand why it is coming to us, but I'm not sure why they're bringing it to us at all if they're not going to give us anything to evaluate it by, other than we boarded up the building and sent the letter to the owner.
Did you tell us whether they was a danger to the public? I didn't actually read the letter.
Right. So we have two letters that I could provide to you, either in email later, or I mean we can look at it now, but I don't think it's going to be too readable.
It seems to me that demolishing it because of, safety reasons would be different than that it's a nuisance.
And we're kind of skipping to the terminal condition. I mean, the code gives the authority to bring it to us earlier in the process. As it allows us to make findings that it's a nuisance in order that it be abated and potentially authorize someone on behalf of the city to initiate a civil suit. I mean, we're not getting things from the city saying this property is in danger or this property is a nuisance. We're getting things from the city saying, oh, we're going to demolish this property. Please rubber stamp it.
So I might be able to shed just a little bit of light on kind of the process and why the city is going about it in this way. For properties like this, it's sort of a sticky situation where the different sections of the codified ordinances and even the Ohio Revised Code don't perfectly overlap. It's not a perfect process. I see what you're saying, that when the city doesn't actually own title to the property or they're not occupying the property, technically, they don't really have a right to come here and ask for a certificate of appropriateness. But under other public safety local ordinances and public safety Ohio Revised Code statutes, the city does have the right to demolish property when it presents a public safety hazard. And the kind of the structural integrity of the property is really the critical point there. So I think, I haven't seen Larry's letter, I can't say for sure, but my guess is the building department went out and inspected this property. They deemed it a public nuisance based on it being structurally insecure. And there are just a variety of public safety hazards related to just open and vacant properties that the city has to repeatedly go out and board up. I'm sure you guys see on the news all the time, you know, the homeless population moving in, starting fires, buildings collapsing. It's a big problem everywhere, not just Middletown. But the city does have a right to go in and demolish these properties and these structures just unilaterally. But what they don't want to do is circumvent your all's role in the city, which is to protect historic landmarks, decide whether a property really should be demolished if it's in a historic district. So they're still bringing these properties to you, just not as a rubber stamp, but truly just to get your input before they actually take that next step to demolish the property. They just, I think city staff just doesn't want to go around you guys to get this done. They want to follow the appropriate processes to the fullest extent that they can under the law. So I totally see what you're saying, how the ordinances don't completely match up with the city applying to actually do the demolition work. But the city also can't compel the owner of the property to do that themselves. If the owner's just gonna sit on their hands, someone's gotta do something. So I think that's
Yeah.
kind of why it's coming to you guys first.
But it's coming to us at the point of demolition. I mean, they're meant to be able to bring this stuff to us when they say, this property is in disrepair, this property is in danger, or this property is a nuisance. And there are steps that we can take at each of those stages where we can say, do this repair, or abate this nuisance. And theoretically, where we can say, we are just going to do the repairs and put a lien on the property. We're going to go to the common pleas court and have a receiver appointed. But demolition is supposed to be the last point on an escalating scale of remedies that are available to the Historic Commission. I guess it's appropriate that you want our input, but why are you seeking it at the point of death?
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from on that point too. I think there are a couple points to unpack there. And one is that this board doesn't really have any nuisance abatement authority per se. You're more permissive in nature. So if people are coming to you for authority to alter or improve in some way or demolish a historic structure, and it's up to you all to decide if what they're intending to do as far as improving the property is going to preserve the can't compel them to come to you. At that point, there are nuisance abatement procedures outside of the historic commission procedures that we have to follow in terms of citing them for various violations of the code, and ultimately getting to this point with properties that are just so run down, they're not really financially feasible for someone to repair. Um, then we come to you for, or I say we, but really I'm here as everyone's legal counsel because everyone here is under the city umbrella. But then the city comes to you all with these demolition permit certificates of appropriateness kind of issues. So I do see where you're coming from, but the nuisance abatement process is outside of historic commission's purview technically.
No, I mean, we're supposed to have it. The minimum maintenance standards for properties in the historic district are supposed to be enforced by us, or that we have the authority to do so, to investigate it and inspect and order that they be repaired. But
Whenever you inspect a building, per se, and this will go to a new and old business when we'll talk about it. Somebody on the Historic Commission sent me an email, for example, about, I think it's 18 Charles Street. It is the train station, part of the pillar starting to break and crumble. It is brick, it is a historically designated building. The development code is written that if you see a building, you're able to contact the development code administrator, which is me, or anybody in code enforcement, identify the project, and then they're supposed to take the appropriate action, going through writing notice of violation letters, and then applying a civil penalty, and then going down that route. It doesn't necessarily mean that we need to, like, as she was saying, you can't call on the property owner to come to the city and then speak to you about why they're not updating their building.
And we've done that for South Main and downtown and Highlands. But Oakwood, of course, is fairly new for us.
Right,
We
and
didn't have a whole lot of opportunity ahead of time to, I guess, identify these particular problems.
And that was not my understanding of the code when it was written. It is that we were supposed to have that authority. And also, we used to have the assistance of the code enforcement staff. I mean, it's nice to say that we members of the Historic Commission are supposed to go, can bring stuff to the city's attention that we think is concerning, but there are hundreds of buildings out there. We're meant to be essentially a adjudicative body. We are not meant to be the inspectors. That is meant to be something that the city is doing and providing us reports. We are supposed to basically have staff members that say, this building is not complying with code, it's in disrepair. And for us to be able to make orders to have that repair done. And then if it's not complied with, to make a finding that it's a public nuisance. And then the city to act on that designation, either to get the repairs done or to go to the Common Pleas Court and say this building has been designated a public nuisance under the city code. We are asserting our remedies under the state code. But none of that is happening. I mean, it's like we updated our code so that all of this stuff could be done, but none of it is being done. As the U.S. Hotel is a historic landmark in the historic district. And we can see it falling to pieces in front of our eyes. And we've written a code with a lot of input from the Historic Commission specifically to remedy that. And yet we are completely helpless to actually do anything.
Well, I think the critical point is that for someone to get before you all, they need to have the motivation to want You
No.
only require them to bring their property
Oh.
up to what would be building code standard.
There are two sections for the Historic Commission. One is regarding the applications for certificate of appropriateness. The other one is the Historic Preservation Chapter 212, which we are supposed to be using as an affirmative body to protect, enhance, and perpetuate the properties, which is essentially to order properties in disrepair to be repaired. With penalties that attach to the failure to comply with the Historic Commission's orders.
So for example, 619 Baltimore Street, there was multiple times where notice of violation letters were sent to have their windows boarded up. They did not do so, a civil penalty was applied, and then the city went out there and boarded the windows up. And this is going back since 2021. So it's like,
Are we, in doing this, are we saying that we're ordering the demolition of the building? Or are we saying that there's no historical reason not to demo?
So you'd just be approving the demolition of the building, you wouldn't necessarily be making a finding as to the historic nature of the building.
Well, I think that's what we should be doing, as opposed to ordering it to be demolished. I mean, that's kind of what we do, it's kind of, you determine whether it's a historic building that needs to be saved in some fashion. But I don't think like you said, we can't order people to change their windows. We can't order, I'm not sure we can order building, according to, what Matthew had said. We can't really order demolition either.
Well, and that's where the city comes in as the applicant, because the city is entitled to carry out the demolition work if it feels that it's necessary in terms of public safety. But theoretically, under the code, if you feel that this building's historic significance outweighs the public safety factor, you could deny the certificate of appropriateness for the demolition. That would be well within your rights.
And we've done that once or twice.
Yes, but is the city going to do anything? Are they actually going to order the repairs done and then do them if the person doesn't, and put a lien on the property and then seize it and then market it to someone that will repair it? Or are they just going to say, well, it wasn't badly enough deteriorated for us to demolish last year, but it is this year? And our experience is that it's the second.
we've done all the steps of ordering them to replace the windows, not replacing the windows, applying a civil penalty, boarding the windows up, and then we've not yet seized the property. So that's where we've kind of stopped in your process.
The thing is if the city is basically going to say, all of these other remedies are essentially off the table, we are never going to budget to pursue them, it doesn't matter fundamentally how historic the building is, the city is never going to go beyond imposing a civil penalty and then demolishing the building. It's just not our policy.
What would you
Then
like?
would just go ahead and tell us that, and we can stop, wasting our time.
Well, what would you like to see the city do?
I would like the city to have a program that would set up a program to essentially rehabilitate these buildings, to identify the ones that are in danger before you're getting to the point of ordering the owners to demolish them, so that we can get orders into repair in place. It's for the critical buildings, for the city to be willing to say, here we have a fund that we are going to use to carry out these repairs, and then we're going to put liens on the buildings. Or that we are going to allow you to declare this building to be a public nuisance. And we're going to get lawyers to go into the common pleas court and set up receivers as to take control of the building, and then find purchasers that will come in and take them over and save them. It just gets frustrating, essentially, that we're saying, well, our purpose is to preserve the historic buildings, so every few months we're going to decide which of the historic buildings we're going to demolish. And otherwise, we're just harassing people that are putting in pools or fences or windows that are conscientious enough that there's no reason that they're not going to get the application, and there's really nothing for us to review.
And I think, what is this, about the third building on Baltimore Street that
I believe so.
we demolition orders on?
It's the same block.
Yeah, I'd say block,
Same block, yep.
we'll build a splash pad.
And you know, Matt, thinking through this, you know, like Lincoln School, right?
Mhm.
We said no to that.
Yeah.
City came and did it anyway.
Yeah, and they said it was a hazard, and they don't need a certificate of appropriateness for that, so goodbye. Alternately, they appeal to the planning commission, and the planning commission gives them.
Yep.
I mean, that's what's gonna happen. It's like, if we deny it, what we know is going to happen is they'll say, decide it's a hazard, demolish it anyway. Appeal to the planning commission will approve the demolition, or they'll put it on the back burner for a year, come back and say, well, now it's in a much worse condition, you need to approve it, and we will.
I will say, in terms of what you want to see, is with the nuisance abatement process and getting this in the hands of a purchaser who might actually do something productive with the property, once it gets to the demolition stage, that's really the final step in the nuisance abatement process. I think the city is attempting to demolish the property and, just as you're saying, get it in the hands of somebody who is going to do something productive with it. It's difficult because there's so much funding available right now for demolitions and turning property over in this manner, but we don't have the same funds when it comes to renovating a property, and you can't do the same kind of tax liens for that kind of work because it's not true demolition, public nuisance abatement work. At that point, it's like you're revamping the property to almost flip it, and the city's not really in the business of flipping properties. It's not a developer, it's just looking out for the public interest. But I see what you're saying, and I think it's definitely something that development services can talk about with upper level management in the city, setting aside funds for rehabbing these historic properties that maybe do have potential financial feasibility to do that versus demolishing them. Some of these smaller residential properties, I think it's tough to justify something like that. But ultimately, you guys are the decision makers on it, so.
And on that, right, so for me, I look at it is, you know, the city comes in, land bank comes in, that's the death of the property. It is the death. I've never seen a property getting rehabbed since I've been here since 2016 that the city or land bank has. So the precedent is there to say demolish, put a green field in, go mow grass. Then I hear people say, well, there's no market there. Well, I've got 5 friends that moved into town and they're buying these houses for $5,000, $10,000 and flipping them. How do we get before demolition? How does the city acquire the property or some way educate that it's for sale? Right? We get the property and we're like, it's dead. The city never tries. There's no city website that says these are the properties that are available. They do for big investors, big developers that want to come in and do big projects, but nothing for the onesie-twosie guys that are out there. And they're out there. Go look at Hamilton. Hamilton's not demolishing stuff. They're taking their houses, putting them in the right hands of people. Yeah, they're flipping them. But it's not a big flipper. It's a guy coming in and flipping 1 or 2 houses a year. So that's my 2 cents on it. I know I'm late. I apologize. Got stuck in traffic.
We're asking what buildings in the historic districts are endangered. And we're saying, well, we don't have that information. And then we're coming in with applications to demolish buildings that are at an end of a process. Yes, where that building has been in disrepair all of this time. You say that we're a decision maker. What we are is a minor speed bump on the road.
So James, have noticed the violation going on this property?
For 619 Baltimore? Yes. There's been notice violation letters for everything ranging from, obviously the windows being broken in. There were squatters living there. There was long grass. We've been mowing it since 2021. And then since when a home becomes vacant, such as this, you see the windows are boarded up, people start using it as a dump. So we've removed everything from car parts to washer and dryers to tires from this property since approximately 2021. So there's been a lot of notice of violations that have gone out, and then the current property owner that's in Texas has just been paying for either the civil penalty outright, or once it gets added to the property taxes, they pay it then.
I think that's another point to make to your point. If a property owner is willing to just let those different liens add up, then the city has the right to actually foreclose on those liens, and then we could take possession of it. And at that point, we don't necessarily have to demolish the property. We could try to sell it to somebody else, but if they keep paying off those liens, we don't really have any way to get our hands on the property in that manner. It would be up to the owner to sell it to somebody else, because we don't own the property.
I'm betting nobody paid any liens on this.
They've been paying the civil penalties. Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Well, a lot of times the civil penalties are so modest.
It's $150.
Yeah. I mean, and that is part of the reason we're essentially toothless. Do this $10,000 repair or we're going to fine you $150. Okay.
Now, I know it's late, so I apologize, but, so help me, the property is still owned by this individual in Texas from the agenda I saw. Is that a correct statement?
Yes,
And the city is asking to demolish it
correct.
on the basis of safety? Or what it, how, because this is where I'm confused. How does the city put a COA for a property they don't own? You guys, if you guys hash this out, if you already did that, I'll keep quiet. I can ask later.
No,
Carly provided that information.
Matthew's, his point was
Okay.
all along,
Okay.
the city didn't own it, so then how could they order it?
I can give you kind of the Reader's Digest.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, that's okay. Basically, the city ordinances and state law just don't quite match up perfectly. So the city has unilateral authority under its nuisance abatement ordinances and also under nuisance abatement revised code sections to demolish property that prevents some sort of public safety issue, whether because of structural insecurity or otherwise. But to carry out demolition work, if that property is a historic landmark or in a historic district, it has to come to you all. So I think the city's point in bringing this to you all is to get your input and not circumvent that part of the process, even though it doesn't match up perfectly.
So we're a little ahead of where the demolish is. So if we said yes, there's still another process you guys got to run through to get the property in your hands before you can actually demolish it.
Yeah.
Okay, that helps. Thank you.
It seems to me that what we really are doing is saying that it has no historic background to save it. We wouldn't be saving it because it's historic.
Yeah, it is a 1904 structure.
Yeah, but it doesn't have a whole lot of.
Yeah, but and to a degree, it's a collection of buildings, hangs, and every one you take out, however little each individual one is contributing, eventually you don't have the early 20th century neighborhood any longer. I mean, I guess the point is, if you want our input, why are you bringing it at the point where you're requesting demolition instead of at the point where you're sending out notices of violation?
It's a different department that came to me right before I sent out the agenda, asking to have a certificate of appropriateness to demo the building, and different department came through the same process as a different applicant would. So just like,
I think part of it is also that.
I mean, we used to
It
get,
wasn't a historic neighborhood at the time.
yeah,
not until last year.
So they wouldn't have come to us, to board it up or to talk about it being a nuisance, because we wouldn't be involved.
I thought it was a little bit longer than that, and it's been in the pipeline for longer than that. I know that we had been receiving, when we were still receiving zoning reports, we had.
I didn't think we were receiving zoning reports for Oakland, when those were still coming out.
can't recall. I thought we were at the end, but I may be misremembering.
You're probably right.
The person before me, she was a code enforcement, but then also in the Historic Commission. She did the 3 historic districts, so her districts were the 3. So she was out there in the streets every day, looking, observing, and reporting on these buildings.
We got some nice spreadsheets as to what was going on and how many times she
Mhm.
visited certain places. Okay, so where does that leave us?
Okay,
We needed a motion either way.
well, we're supposed to open up a forum, I think, at some point, but, okay. If we have someone representing the applicant, I guess we already have spoken to them, as it were. Does any member of the public wish to speak in favor of the application? There being no response, is there any member of the public that wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Is there any further board discussion? Now do we have a motion? Okay,
What are our choices, and then
we can
what would
approve.
we expect, what would we expect to happen?
We can approve the application, approve it subject to conditions, deny the application, or table it, potentially asking for additional information. Any action by the commission has to be supported by 4 members. If no action is taken, then essentially it will end up being approved by default.
And if we deny it, it's probably gonna be approved.
By the planning
Appeal.
commission.
Or the city saying it's a danger. to the public. It's kind of a no-win situation for us.
Mhm.
I mean,
We're just in at the death, as it were.
yeah. To me, you know, I can't sit on this commission and say, let's demolish. I volunteer my time to preserve as much as we can. Don't get me wrong, and I'm also a realist. There's points that they can't come back. And there's a growth outside of preservation and things outside of that too. But I look at the Oakland district personally, it's a unique district. And the fact that it was a historic commission, it wasn't a historic district, and now it's a preservation something, conservation overlay, so it goes by different things. So I ask myself, does the city really care about that district? From a historical value that we do the other districts? Just thinking out loud, that's kind of the first thing that comes to mind every time I hear Oakland, is like, that changed from how we originally planned for that. And there's a lot of empty lots there already. I'm hearing developers want to come in and put modern homes in. Brands, we know he did his home, which is great. You know, there's development going over there. Do we need another empty field, or is this an opportunity to say, hey, city, prove to me that it's really a nuisance. Prove to me that there's a safety issue. Yeah, there's squatters. They've got all this other issues, homeless, trash, all that. But what does the city try to do different? We're doing the same thing. So I would say I'm a fan of denying it and asking the city to try something different before they get to the phase of demolishing on this.
Is that a motion?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll put that as a motion.
Okay, we have a motion to deny the application for a certificate of appropriateness. Do we have a second? All right, there being no second, does anybody else wish to propose a motion? You feel if we had additional information from the applicant, we would be more able to consider?
Is there a motion that we could make with a condition on it that would solve the legal issue on title? In other words, the city could tear the building down if they have legal title or something like that. Is that a condition that we could put on?
I mean, if you're putting the condition on it, you're basically saying you don't feel that they have the authority to make the application. So if they don't have the authority to make the application, do we have the authority to grant it conditionally?
I wouldn't have any idea whether they have the authority to do that or not. That's what we have this young lady here for.
I think if you place that condition on it, you'd be usurping some of the other local ordinances and state law that do allow the city to carry out the demolition work.
Well,
Like, we could talk about.
I guess we would be talking about this particular building as opposed to in general.
Well, it might be good if in the application, the application lays out why the city thinks that despite not being an owner or the authorized agent of the owner, they nevertheless have the authority to submit the application, basically saying, this is the process that we went through to, under these statutes or these ordinances, and this is why, by virtue of that, we have acquired the authority to make the application.
I'd be for denying, as you mentioned, but is that gonna get us anywhere?
I mean, we have little information about the building, we have little information about the structural integrity of the building.
And
We're mostly hearing that it's having to be boarded up because it's attracting vagrants.
And this building doesn't look quite as bad as
The last.
the last one we looked at.
Yes. Which is like missing an entire wall.
Yeah.
Right.
Why don't we make a motion to table it? Can you put something on there to have them get more documentation and whatnot, and then we reach back out, or we set a time to look
Yeah,
at
we
it?
would come back at the next meeting generally.
Then we could still kind of not
Although,
deny it. but-
since we didn't meet last month, I
Same.
don't know how long this application has been
I was gonna say.
pending. We have a finite amount.
I don't have how many days it's been, but it's 60 days based off the application. I think it might be a little bit,
Looking at right here.
Can you go back to the application? Let us see what date it's stamped on.
there was an application because it's city-based.
Oh, that's right.
So 2614 Superior Avenue, today was day 60, or day 59, so one more day and it would have automatically been approved. I do know this application for 619 came like at least a week or two later. So,
So we probably cannot reach the April meeting without it being approved by default.
yeah.
Which means we'd either have to have a special meeting with appropriate public notice of the fact.
There's no public notice for this meeting. Planning Commission, Board of Zoning Appeals.
In order for it to not be approved, we have to deny it.
Correct.
I guess I'll second denial.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
Roger Daniel,
Yes for denial.
Michelle Perkins,
I'd approve it.
so yes for denial. Okay. Matt Dixon
I'll abstain.
and Corey Carter.
Yes, I approve to deny.
Andy Brickler.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, the application for demolition is denied.
So new and old business, I have two items on our agenda. The first one is Sam Cornwall. He stepped down from Planning Commission, and by default, he has also stepped down from Historic Commission because he was Planning Commission's representative to Historic Commission. The last Planning Commission meeting, Roger Daniel stepped up as he was just a Historic Commission member that represented the South Main district, and I think the Central Avenue district as well. But now he also serves as the Planning Commission representative to Historic Commission. Item 1. And then item 2 is previously there was a building that was identified that was falling into disrepair from the Historic Commission to me. This was off of Charles Street. It is the train station, one of the pillars. The brick was starting to fall off and fall down. I reached out, sent a notice of violation, and worked with the applicant. They are working with a contractor that will start work on the brick and ductwork in 4 to 5 weeks. The reason that they've had to wait so long is because you can't do brickwork in freezing temperatures, is what he told me. But he called in and left a voicemail on March 20th, which was yesterday.
And who is he on?
It's a real estate company. I forget the name, but it's Matthew Armbruster.
Is it Finkelman?
Yeah, it's Finkelman Real Estate. But my point of contact was Matt Armbruster, which is, yeah. So he was fully aware of that, had already spoken to somebody, has been reaching out, and they're trying to replace it. But to do any type of brickwork has to be in warm temperatures. So,
They've done a pretty good job on that building over the years.
yeah, they've done an excellent job. And then I still have not heard back from the YMCA, but as you guys have known, I have been out of office the last 3 weeks on leave. So I might have something in my email, or might have something in my voicemail about the sign. So we're just waiting to hear back from them. But it's not a historic building or in the historic district. It's just adjacent. So been working on that. That kind of covers everything I have. Is there anything you have for me?
Yeah, there was this thing on Baltimore Street that we've just been talking about for the last half hour.
Yep.
Where's it go? I mean,
So,
it needs to be bumped up within the city.
right. So whenever we have meetings like this, I always take notes, and then every other Wednesday, or typically the first and third Wednesday of every month, I have a meeting with the development committee, which is myself, city management office, economic development, public works department, basically all the directors of all the departments. And then I run through all the different applications I have for all my meetings, keep them up to date, and then anything that we have, such as this, that what we talked about, having a law representative at most of our meetings. The previous meeting, you guys asked for a city council representative. I share those things with them, and I'm not a decision maker. I just report it, and then once they decide what they would like to do, then we go from there. And that's why we have our attorney representative. So 2 points of, interest from our conversation is identifying historic buildings or buildings in the historic district that need repair, and develop a program that purchases, rehabilitates, and markets these buildings. I'll share that along, and then create and provide a list of historic homes and buildings that are in danger, which would be going through code enforcement. They're the ones that are out there. I'll ask if we have a few different code enforcement personnel that work in the historic districts. So we'll see if that's something that they can provide. And then I'll pass that up at the development committee meeting, and then we'll go from there.
I mean, 2 or 3 years ago, a bunch of us walked up and down South Main Street and identified buildings that we wanted to put on a watch list that, needed some repair work, and we're going to notify those particular people, but also ones that aren't quite to that level that we want to keep an eye on. So, I mean, it's something we did do. I don't think we've done that for Highlands.
No,
or
we have not.
anybody else yet. But we could, and we should. But that's also what the building inspectors could do.
Code enforcement. Yep.
Okay, sorry.
Do they use Citizen Serve to track that?
Code enforcement?
How are they tracking this stuff?
That's an excellent question. I'm not sure.
Because the data's got to be collected somewhere.
Right.
And so I know, as we've said in the past, it's no one can get that data. They're tracking these properties somehow, some way. So how do we get it together where we can, you know, not have someone have to go manually like the previous you was doing.
Right.
If it's in a system, let's get a report and export it out.
Well, at a previous request, when you guys
Yep.
asked about this process and how to identify historic buildings, when we spoke to one of our law representatives, they said that it is the duty of the Historic Commission to identify the building. If they do identify a building, to report it to me, and then we'll go through this process. This is, I think, the train station's the third or fourth one that we've done so far with good success. But going through this process, I agree with you, we're not going to be able to get every single one. There's too many.
I made a few more notes. Do you guys care if I just run through them really fast? Part of the reason why I'm here is
Yeah.
trying to sort through these issues, not to like be a hammer and say, let's just do it all the same way we've always done it. So I had James's things on there. Another thing was maybe looking at civil penalties and seeing if increasing them might give us a little bit more teeth when it comes to our code enforcement. Collecting historic commission's input when code enforcement is actually on the front end of the process where they're actually issuing the violations so that you all can weigh in on how property should be improved to bring it up to code under the historic ordinances rather than just waiting until we're at the demo stage. For city applications, it would be nice to have more details in the application going over the city's authority under the law to file the application in the first place, and also the public safety issues related to the property, which I can completely understand. And then consider some amendments to the ordinances, maybe actually giving the city authority to file demo applications just to clean up the process a little bit. This is just something I noted, the approval by default issue if something isn't decided in 60 days. Does that present issues for you guys, or?
It has, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because some people will apply immediately after the previous meeting, and then we can't, we're unable to obtain a quorum or unable to decide something at the next meeting, and then the third meeting is beyond 60 days.
A lot of times it's because the people don't appear at these meetings and we have questions, and we can't get the questions answered.
For here, it would be nice if you guys could order some more public safety information, come back to you before you have to make a decision on the
Yep.
COA application. So maybe just taking that out altogether, I think it's kind of a weird rule.
Well, the 60-day application, like the 60-day time frame is also, I believe, good for the applicants, because there are times where we've had somebody apply for a pool, let's just say, the day after a meeting, and then if Historic Commission can't meet for whatever reason, let's just say we had quorum and then somebody's kid is sick and then we lose quorum the day of the meeting. Well, then now they're getting their pool pushed back. They have to wait until they get a COA approved, and then they get their certificate of zoning compliance approved, and they have to go get their pool permit approved. So these people are waiting, waiting on Historic Commission, which could take 60 days or longer to find out, and then they have to go get their zoning permit, and they'll submit for that. So then these people could be 3, 4, 5 months out.
I can see that, but there are different due process kind of guardrails in place where if someone really feels like they're getting the runaround on their application, they could file something with the city to kind of expedite the process. I just don't want I don't want our boards and commissions get jumped, I guess, in the process of something that they should be reviewing. But then maybe that's something we can talk about instead of just taking it out, extending it or fixing it in some way where we have to set a special meeting after 60 days, something that would kind of cover all of our bases. I just don't like the default approval without having to look at it at all. But that's something I noticed. And then clarity just generally on the city's nuisance abatement processes, because there are so many different avenues the city's taking, and it would make sense that you guys aren't exactly sure where you fit in kind of the overall wheel of nuisance abatement work. Does that cover everything, or is there anything else you guys want me to think about?
Some of those could be,
Getting down to the fines that we were talking about, one of the problems we run into a lot of times is the work is already done or in process before it comes to us. So, you can't tell somebody to tear your roof off if we don't like the color.
Technically, you could. It would be harsh, but you could.
Yeah.
We've done it.
We do things like that.
And then we have issues when things actually go to the municipal court where,
That's where it's good.
But quite often, though, things come to us, especially downtown, come to us and they've already been done.
Mm.
Signs already up,
we have pushed back, I forget what, 2705 McGee Avenue. The white vinyl windows they put in, we did win that one and got them to put the brown ones in. I mean, we have pushed back and made them do things, you know, when people are, that one's a little different. They knew about us and didn't want to come to us. I think the city kind of helped us on that. That's an example where the city helped us as a commission. When we said, hey, we want to deny this, they got involved as well.
Yeah, I would just run those cases, the forgiveness on the back end kind of cases, the same way that you run any other case. And if you feel what they've done isn't up to your standards, then that's kind of the way the cookie crumbles for someone if they don't want to follow the right process.
Yeah. And the problem is we don't get any help on the enforcement end. And, I mean, we can say, well, we're denying the certificate of appropriateness for the work we've already done. We're ordering you to, I'll do it properly. But the most that can generally happen is they get a nasty letter from the city. Maybe they get a violation in the municipal court, or if they come in and it either gets dropped or they're given a $50 fine in court costs, and they've already essentially been punished for their violation. I mean, if we're going to tell someone, tear out the custom $20,000 windows that you put in and put in custom $30,000 windows instead, and if you don't, then we're going to wrap you on the knuckles, then they're going to choose to be wrapped on the knuckles.
Yeah, that's probably a symptom of kind of your city's prioritization process too.
Mm-hmm.
When you've got properties that are actually like falling down around you versus
Mhm.
the homeowner who's just not being a good citizen, a good
Yeah.
neighbor.
It takes the philosophy, it's better to beg forgiveness than ask permission, and if I don't get the forgiveness, then, oh well, I can live without it.
Yeah, we've had that a couple of places downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
A couple of people that have gone to us before, and then
Mhm.
claim they didn't know they had to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, this is good feedback. If you guys have anything else that you want us to think about, just email James. I can send you guys my email too. You can email me directly, whatever comes up for your reason, why we're here.
Are you in the city's law department, or are you?
I'm outside counsel, but we consider ourselves part of the city's law department.
So James, another new topic, I sent you an email, I know you've been out, but 1004 First Avenue, the brick facade on that house is about ready to fall off on the sidewalk.
Was that the one that you sent me an email
Picture,
about?
yeah, I didn't know if you had any updates on that.
I went and looked at the building, and from what I saw, it looked like some of the grout was starting to like disappear, but I didn't see any bricks falling down.
Okay, yeah,
The picture you sent me did come across blurry,
okay.
but when I come back in April, I can go back out there and look again. You said 1004?
1004 First Avenue.
Yep.
It's the one right there on the corner of First and South Main. Yep. Yep. And then the other one, I'm just driving in the day, I noticed the Slice or Leo's. It looks like they got a bunch of broken windows and pizza boxes over the windows. It's getting more and more every day. So I don't know.
You're talking about the upstairs on the slice,
No,
right?
I'm talking the first floor on the Leo side, the band side. They got pizza boxes over probably close to a third of the window.
Okay.
I think someone's been smashing windows. I
Yeah.
think they had to board up the Lyric Theaters.
Yep.
windows, too.
That might have just been somebody going around
Yeah.
smashing windows. I know they are working through a grant process with the city to rehabilitate some of the inside of the buildings.
All right. Is there any other business to be brought before the Middletown Historic Commission? All right, then do we have a motion? Do we have a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. This meeting of the Middletown Historic Commission is adjourned.
favorite person to attend these meetings, so.
Well, I have a brother and a sister-in-law and son that are lawyers, so, you know, I'm over it.
Well, it's nice to meet you all. I'll probably be back next month and then you'll have someone else. Okay. A little bit.
See Jeremy lately?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Sorry, I don't know all these. The rules of everything that I'm learning, so. Okay. Okay. Well, no, I understand. And it's great you get to turn in police, so. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you.
Absolutely.